Hey there, guys. One of the most common requests I've been getting lately is showing some updated methods to farm the Chamber of the Vengeful so you can get those 50 unit clear missions, probably because limit burst pots are becoming really important these days, and this is one of the better sources to get LB pots. But, just to get all the missions, etc., or to get all 50 unit clears, I'm going to be showing some newer ways to use Neovision units to clear these very easily in a short amount of time period with the least amount of units, so you can cycle more units per clear and get all 50 clears in. So I'm going to be trying to do these with between 2 to 3 units and leaving most of the rest of the party slots either empty or super flexible that can be filled in with almost anything, so you can get these clears in. Now, this is not going to be budget runs. This is more for those of you that have good gear, more like veteran players that have, good gear, current units, but you've just been maybe a little bit lazy and you just haven't really wanted to bother with it. This will be some easier ways to do it. Now, if you do need budget runs, I have them on my channel. You can look up the, more budget ways to do it, because this is going to be using some pretty good Neovision units to make this easy and quick. So we're going to do all 5 of the bosses. I'm going to start with the Armageddon and go through all 5 of them. So let me go ahead and jump into the first boss, and we'll get to it. See you in a second. Alright, guys. The first one we're going to be doing is Armageddon, Legendary. The core of this team is going to be 2 units. We're going to be using Neovision's Terra and Phasey. Now, you can swap these out. Terra, the reason she's chosen is because she uses evoke damage, and we can get a turn 2 clear using Terra. Normally, even if you one-shot the boss on turn 1, he hit point locks at 4% health, and then has 2 turns of damage immunity, so he forces you to wait until turn 4 to win. With Terra, we can do it on turn 2. It's just quicker. And then Phasey is going to be so we survive doing that, because by pushing the boss really hard on turn 1, it's going to make the boss counter with some damaging stuff, but you'll see. And the other 3 party slots can be just cycled out with units as you desire. We're going to use some 1-point friend units. Now, one of them wants to be on Lakshmi, because we're going to evoke Lakshmi on turn 1 to top off our tank, because you start this fight at like 1% health. Terra automatically fills the Esper gauge by default, so you're good. So we're going to be using Barg. He is naked. Other unit is someone to do 1,000 Needles on turn 1. So Lisa is going to do 1,000 Needles, make sure she's got enough mana to cast it. That's all that matters. Other unit is going to be someone to do Cradle of Horns. This is optional. It may not even be needed. I may be seriously overestimating this boss's damage. But this is just going to give a spirit buff to Phasey for the first turn. It's probably not even important, but just in case. And then Phasey, base form doesn't matter. We're going to shift on turn 1. She has cover active by default on turn 1. You don't have to cast that. So she's going to break and do a general mitigation buff on the first turn. So she's got full evasion. Because we're using her mitigation buff, that also provokes. She does not need passive provoke. We're going to active provoke on turn 1. Makes her a little bit easier to gear. And make sure she's immune to earth damage. She has 50% earth naturally in her shift form, which is what we want. And she's on Golem for the other 50%, or if you spec yours into Earth Resist like mine, it's 70%. But yeah, she wants 100% Earth, full evasion. She does not need passive provoke. Other than that, some decent spirits and hit points. I have a feeling this is serious overkill for what we need, but, maybe not. Who knows? And she's going to break the boss by 75% on turn 1. Terra, base form, we gave her an auto buff for magic. This gives her a 150% magic buff on turn 1. Probably not important. It can't hurt. Shift form, the usual. Now, I geared her intentionally with no STMRs. Other than Ravenheart, it's a really old STMR. Hopefully a lot of you have it by now. Yeah, I'm intentionally gearing her more of a slightly budget gear. Just gear her for evocation and Esper damage, not LB. We're not using her LB. So, if you're using STMRs, her stats will be way better. But she's got 270 Evo damage, 175 Esper damage, and her own card. And grab a friend Esper that has EX1 unlocked. Oh, I'm sorry. I almost forgot. It's very important that your units are immune to Paralyze and Petrify. Your 2 main units. Only Terra and Phasey need this. So Paralyze and Petrify immune for her, and Terra's shift form is immune to both. I gave her that through The Archmage Mantle gives her a Petrify immunity, and I stuck her on Shiva for Paralyzed immunity. You could, of course, give her a ribbon, give her Creel Scrunchie, give her the Moonshade Pendant. Those are all STMRs, though, so, yeah, just give her a Paralyze and Petrify immunity. And the friend, like I mentioned, you want just a generic EX1 Terra. Now, this one is geared for LB damage, which is her usual build. That's fine. She's not immune to Petrify and Paralyze. And, yeah, it doesn't really matter. All we need her for is turn 1. So let's get in here. Yeah, so the friend can be literally anyone as long as they just chain with Terra with evoke damage. So here's the turn 1 ambush. We take some damage. We're going to evoke an Esper. We're going to Thousand Needles. And we're going to Cradle of Horns. We're going to shift our Phasey, and then she's going to double C magic. She's going to Splash Fight for the Provoke and General Mitigation. And she's going to do Sphere Shot to break the boss. Now, our Terra is going to shift, and we're going to do Chaos Wave. We're going to triple cast Chaos Wave. This is our chaining skill. We're not going to bother with the LB. This is a non-elemental evoke chain. And the friend, we're going to triple cast Chaos Wave. Now, even if your gear is not good, this is going to dramatically overkill the boss all the way to the 4% hit point lock. Yeah, like on the second hit, the boss is already at 4%. You don't need good gear for this. But because we pushed a double threshold, our tank's going to get hit really hard here. We're immune to the earth attack. Here come... Okay. When I said we needed Cradle of Horns, I seriously overestimated it. We took basically no damage. Yeah. The friend is now paralyzed, petrified, and all that. We don't care. The boss is immune to physical and magical damage for the next 2 turns. This is where normally most teams would have to sit here and wait on turn 2, wait on turn 3. The boss is not threshold locked anymore, so he's doing all his attacks. You need a real tank, you need, heals, etc. But because Terra uses evoke damage, it ignores mitigation. Goodbye, boss. Turn 2 victory, super easy. So you grab a random Terra. All that matters with the friend is that they have EX1 unlocked, and they can shift on turn 1. Their stats don't matter. They don't need to be immune. You don't need chaining to do the last 4%. Your own Terra can carry that. And then, yeah, I overestimated the boss's damage. Phasey took nothing. Of course, Phasey is crazy overpowered. That's why. And we level up our friend units. That's the most important part of this. And yeah, so there is that. So now we would go back in. We would grab a random Terra. Again, I got my list filtered by Terra. You would grab another one, Cotton C. Boom. Who cares about her gear? She's got. I see the 1 star. She's unlocked. We would cycle out these 3 units. 3 clears. So 5 energy, 30 seconds per clear. That would get you your 50 unit clear in something like, I don't know, 50 divided by 3. 15 and a half, or 17 clears. I don't know. So it'd take you about 10 minutes and get all 50 clears on the egg. Alright, let's jump into the next one. See you in a second. Alright guys, next up is going to be the Empress Supreme Legendary. This is going to be by far the easiest of these with Terra because she's an evoker. It completely breaks this fight. It's amazing. We're dropping Phasey, we don't need her. We're going to cycle 4 units at a time. We're going to kill it on turn 1, so the units literally do not matter. Bring 4 units at a time, cycle them, and let's go. The Terra, we didn't make any changes. Base form's irrelevant. We gave her opposition for the magic buff. You don't even need that. We're going to drop it to show that this is not important. Shift form, no STMRs except for Ravenheart. Just, again, the exact same build we just did with the egg. It's fine. Friend, irrelevant. All that matters is that the friend has the shift form. It's a naked shift form. This is going to show how much this doesn't matter. A naked shift form Terra. I'm tempted to go and unfriend this person because I hate seeing naked friend units. Cygnus, shame on you. But it's actually good for an example to show that even if your friends are putting up naked friend units, it's okay. Yeah, Terra destroys this fight. So, turn 1, they ambush all this mitigation. Like, all this mitigation, what are we going to do? We're going to use evocation damage. Shift our Terra. Let's go ahead and triple Magitech, triple Chaos Wave, and shift the friend Terra. Completely naked, shame on you, but we're going to triple level 1 Chaos Wave. Not even leveled. Ultra shame. And we're going to chain, and goodbye, Morgana. There we go. Completely naked friend, level 1 chains. Mine had no STMRs. We didn't even do a magic buff. We win. Turn 1. Evocation ignores all the mechanics. The fight is instantly over on the first turn. Cycle in 4 units at a time. Get this done in 12 clears. 50 unit clear, complete. Okay. Let's move on to the next. And we're leveling up Giat. This is like the most efficient way to level up your friend units, your friend point units. Alright, let's go to the next one. See you in a second. Alright guys, next up is going to be the Demon Matsuri Legendary. This one's a little trickier because it absorbs fire, so we can't use Terra's LB. But we've been using her as a chainer because using her LB requires external chains, and, you know, that's certainly doable, but it's easier to just keep going with chaining, and we're not changing the team a whole lot. We did put Terra on Leviathan, and we're going to be using, the base form is geared for human, I'm sorry, not human, Demon and Fairy Killer. Again, no STMRs other than Malphasy. I'm kind of cheating with that one. She's got 200 Demon and 150 Fairy in this build. Shift form, still using the evocation damage. We should swap this to Cursed All, just for more magic. There we go, same thing, no STMRs. We're still not using the base form on Phasey. Shift form, she's got 100 fire resist naturally, which is great. And we just kept the same build, full evasion. We're not provoking. We're not using passive provoke. Full evasion. Now this boss is going to hit pretty hard with the single target stuff, but I think it's going to be over before it matters. Rest of the team, mostly irrelevant. We've got Cradle of Horns. We don't need Mirage. We don't need an Esper on Bawarg. And we're grabbing a friend. Deuce is just, you know, whatever. The gear doesn't really matter. We've got some gear on the base form. That's fine, as long as it's not naked. Shift form has an evocation damage. That's great. So there we go. Okay. So we're going. This boss may even be dead before this matters. I don't know. I didn't do any test runs. I'm just like going in here and winging it. But I do know Terra's going to destroy this fight. So we'll go ahead and Cradle of Horns. We don't need Mirage. We don't need anything from Bawarg. We're going to shift Terra. Now we're going to do her magic buff this time. We're going to triple. We're going to unlock magic and then double Chaos Wave. So we're going to shift the friend. And we're going to unlock magic and double Chaos Wave, and maybe it even one-shots the boss. I could be, oh jeez. Oh, we didn't one-shot, look at that. If I had triple casted, we actually probably would have. But, I didn't triple cast. Oh well. So Phasey is going to splash fight, and we're going to do, Heated Beach Volleyball. Alright. The boss is going to summon some stuff. If I had triple cast, it would have been a turn 1 victory. So now you know. Triple cast on the Terra, and we would have been fine. But now she has quad cast unlocked, so these enemies are, like, dramatically super duper dead. So, quad cast Chaos Wave. And Deuce, level 1 Chaos Wave, you're killing me, bro. And level 1 unlock magic. Level your skills! Alright. Let's go ahead and, yeah. Clear the Tsukumugogami in 2 turns. Could have been 1 turn with Terra. Yeah, if I had 1 turned it with Terra, I could have dropped Phasey as well and cycled 4 units at a time. But, yeah, just go ahead and chain Chaos Wave, and you are good. And, you know, public service announcement, please level your skills. You make me sad when I see naked units, when I see unleveled skills. Don't set a friend unit if you're not going to max them out. Anyway, we're moving right along. See you in a second. Alright guys, next up is the Bogeyman Knights Legendary. We're going to be using just our own team. For that, we're going to leave a slot empty. You should definitely fill that empty party slot with your own unit. Don't take a friend, take a friend Terra if you don't have your own Terra. But fill that companion slot with your own personal unit. That way you get extra credit for another clear. You can cycle 4 clears at a time. But the Bogeyman Knights is a little bit trickier because it's immune to non-elementals, so we can't use Chaos Wave, and it's 200% fire resist. That's not going to matter though. Terra is so strong that it's going to kill it even through the fire resist. So this is the team we're going to be using. So we're going to be using 2 chainers on Flood Espers. Now this is a little tricky to use because the boss is 200% water resist as well. But if you're using a double-handed dark weapon, so the accuracy doesn't bother you, you know, double-handed dark weapon and then double marshals, you'll always hit even through the accuracy with Flood, the way we're doing this. So 30 light and 10 dark for the whole team. 30 light and 10 dark. Again, double-handing a fist weapon. We've got, or a wolf claws. This is a double-handed fist. It allows us to ignore the evasion on the boss. If you don't have the wolf claws, you can use dual wielders with the dark weapon. It would be fine. Or you could use regular chainers, and then you could use any dark element chaining. But yeah, we're using Flood Espers with these two to chain. The last unit, the last carry unit, needs to be using Crazy Day. Make sure you equip that. And they're on Alexander with Divine Protection Learn. That's a 70% light resist buff. So that plus 30 from gear makes us immune to the light damage. And we're using a 90% dark resist buff from Phasey, so we need 10% from gear. Phasey, this time you do need to gear the base form. Gear it in passive provoke, and then her just, some bulk. The boss is going to ambush. It hurts a little bit. You just put some bulk on her and she's fine. And then her shift form is going to be where we spend turn 1. She's not immune to the damage. It's not really going to matter. On turn 1, she's going to shift into a 90% dark buff, and then she's going to provoke. And then the Terra base form doesn't matter. We're going to shift on turn 1. And here is her shifted gear. We've got, just the free-to-play stuff. And we gave her an LB damage material because we are using her LB now. So there we go. And if your Terra is not well geared at all, you have very low gear, bring a friend Terra and it'll make this way overkill. But here's the turn 1. Here's going to be an ambush. Hurts a little bit, as you can see. We have no buffs up yet. Alright, so turn 1, the unit on Alexander is going to Divine Castle's Protection. Phasey will shift. We're going to double C magic. We're going to Splash Fight for the provoke. And we're going to do Heated Beach Ball for the dark resist. These two can just guard. Terra's going to shift, and we're going to set up her LB. So we're going to do her Magnus, her Magitech Power Release, and do Magitech Barrier as well. She is going to take a tiny amount of damage on turn 1. That just helps with the mitigation. Okay, so because we didn't hit the boss or anything, he's going to lose his Spirit Break immunity. Yeah, turn 1's pretty tame if you don't hit the boss. Alright, so as you can see, the boss lost his immunity. So now we're going to Crazy Day with the friend. That is going to allow the Flood Chain to work. Because now when you combine 200% water resist and 0% dark resist, and then imperil both by 35%, it's something like 94% or whatever resistance, which means chains will work. So we're going to chain Flood, we're going to chain Flood. Phasey is going to break the boss's spirit. And Terra's going to cap. Now, the boss has 200% fire resist, but we did imperil it by 120%, so now it's only 80% fire resist, which sounds like a lot, but Terra's that strong. So, because we're single casting Flood, you want to send Terra, a split second before the chainers. So we're going to send Terra, wait a second, then we're going to send the chainers, and this will cap Terra's LB. There we go. Goodbye, Bogeyman. Now, my Terra is using, basically all cheap gear, no STMRs, other than Malphasies. And we didn't bring a friend, so we actually did not overkill by all that much. The boss has 800 million, we did 880 million, so we only overkilled by 10%. But again, if your Terra is not as well geared, bring a friend Terra that's better geared, or bring 2 Terras, and you'll easily overkill that. But if your Terra does have enough gear to one-shot it by herself, that leaves a slot empty. So, when you're doing this for yourself, you would go ahead into the screen, and you would select your own unit, and you would bring anything. There we go, we'd bring Cloud. And that would be credit for 4 units per kill. So again, you would only need 12 kills to get all 50 in. But if your Terra is not good enough, grab a Terra friend. Just filter your list, grab a friend, there we go. But make sure they're EX1, that is important. Alright, let's jump into the next one. See you in a second. Alright guys, next up is Not Toying Around Legendary. This one, because it has 200% fire resist, and the elf is really bulky, we kind of needed to put on the big boy pants with Terra, so we're going to be using some better gear for the first time in all these runs. So grab a friend Terra, base form doesn't matter, but to make sure the shift form is, moderately geared to give out a leveled up LB, etc. So this Terra is looking really good. We don't need one this strong, but it helps. And then our own Terra, base form doesn't really matter. Shift form, we've got maxed out or really good evocation and LB damage gear. Again, this is going to require kind of good gear to one-shot it with Terra because of the 200% fire resist. She can still do it, though. Vaughn needs to be on Phoenix with Smelling Salts equipped, with Auto Med learned. And he wants 100 wind resist, passive provoke, and full evasion. So there's Vaughn. That's pretty good. You know, decent gear. It's a little trickier to build for this one. Like I said, this is not really the budget run. This is just the quick and easy run. And then 3 carry units. These are going to be cycled out per turn. One of them on Tetra with Bar Aroga learned and Crazy Day equipped. That's important. The rest of the team needs 30% or better wind resist. As you see, 30 wind, 30 wind. And then dual wielding an ice weapon. So ice weapon, dual wielding on Flood Esper. Ice weapon, dual wielding on Flood Esper. That's all that matters. Let's get in here and do the elf. So the elf's going to ambush with a single target attack that confuses no matter what. It ignores immunity. But Auto Med fixes that. So there we go. So Vaughn's on turn 1 is going to triple. We're going to True Fire, Assault Strike, and Full Breakdown. Make sure you do it in that order. The dual wielders are just going to punch to hit the boss with ice. You got to do that so the boss doesn't use his non-elemental. We're going to Bar Aroga with the friend, or with the Tetra unit. And the Terras are going to set up for their LB. We're going to make sure you include her mitigation. We're going to Transburst, Release, and then Magitech Barrier. Because they're not immune to wind, they are going to get hit, but with their 75% mitigation, she'll be fine. So Transburst, Release, and 75% personal mitigation. Alright, so that sets her up for the LB next turn. And there's going to be some single target attacks. Some wind damage. Because of the 75% mitigation, we're fine. The rest of the team is immune. It's hitting Terra a little bit, but I mean, she's not going to die from this. We're good. 75% mitigation, we got this. Okay, that's it. It's time to win. So we're going to chain Violent Current. We're going to chain Violent Current, or Cursed Current. We're going to Crazy Day. And again, because we're using ice along with our water and Crazy Day, that brings his immunity to water below 100%. Vaughn's going to guard, and Terra is going to Chaotic Inferno twice. And go ahead, and because we're dual wielding, we can send everybody at the same time. And that should be goodbye, elf. There we go. Now again, the elf is very bulky, so it's a little trickier to do it that way, but how much do we overkill by? I think he has 800 million hit points. Oh, we overkilled it by like 20%, 25%. Yeah, so we don't need quite that good of a gear, but you do need a little bit better than the super cheap gear that we used on the previous 4 bosses. And there it is. Turn 2, you can cycle out the 3 units at a time and get your 50 clears in. Alright, there's all the things with Terra on turn 1 or turn 2. Hope it's been helpful. Get your 50 clears in, get those LB pots, get those rainbow tickets, and enjoy. Later.